So today we're going to be talking about colors and symbolism of colors. This isn't necessarily something you need to do, but it is something that can actually be incredibly helpful for things like foreshadowing and poeticism and also book covers. So those kinds of things can be really helpful. It can also be very helpful for the aesthetic of your character and how you want them to come off to other characters. Especially because there are a lot of things we assume about certain colors, irregardless of if that's actually true about the character. For example, the first color we have is red. Generally, red is associated with things like passion, warmth, sexuality, danger, violence, aggression. So if a character has red eyes, we might assume that they are naturally very aggressive, naturally very dangerous, even if they are a big softie. That is the assumptions that people will generally make about them on first glance, because of the fact that it's indicated as this dangerous, passionate, aggressive color. It's actually funny because of the fact that it's mostly because of our reaction to nature. In nature, a lot of things that have bright red coloring are either things like strawberries, which can be very sweet, hence the sexuality and the passion, or they can be very dangerous, like poison dart frogs. And one you want to stay away from, and one is actually very alluring. That's why red has both qualities to it. But generally, the instinct that people go for is danger because of the fact that we have a survival instinct built into us, irregardless of whether we actually listen to it or not. In this case, you could use red to mean all kinds of things with your writing and to foreshadow and belie certain things. Or, like I said, you can use it as a contrast and say this person's actually very sweet, but everyone thinks they're very aggressive because they have these bright red eyes that scare people. The next color that I'm going to talk about is orange. Orange generally symbolizes strong creativity and a deep longing for connection, possibility, and sometimes even playfulness is something that it's known for. Orange is one of those colors that generally is very bright and pops out, kind of like the dress I'm wearing today. But it also can definitely symbolize creativity and playfulness because of the fact that a lot of playful things are orange, and also a lot of times when we think of creativity, we think of orange because of the fact that it's a color that is not commonly used unless you're being super creative with your colors. Now, I know that's not necessarily true, but it can be interesting. It's also fun to see how colors work together. Orange and black, for instance, gives us Halloween vibes or spooky vibes or autumnal vibes. Those kind of things help us to get an idea of a scene, but also get an idea of a book cover, an idea for a character, things like that. Yellow generally symbolizes joy, happiness, energy, sunshine, hope, idealism, spontaneity, celebration, those kinds of things. Things that generally pop out at us, that are very bright and make us smile and make us glow. Those kinds of ideas are definitely very much implemented in yellow. That's why sometimes it's fun to put an emo character or a character that doesn't really care in a yellow outfit because it's so contrasting, it's so different from their actual attitude. And that's why it's fun to do as a writing trope. Green generally represents vitality and balance and life, renewal, things like that. It makes it so that generally people feel a little bit more energized and a little bit more full of life. It's one of those colors that is very much a summery color because of all the green and all the grass and all the trees and all those kinds of things. It makes us feel very alive and vibrant. Blue. Blue is a funny one. It's actually a very calming color. It is actually very soothing. Which is why it typically represents serenity, stability, even wisdom. It's kind of fun to play around with shades of blue, especially if you are trying to do a very calming vibe for your scene or for your character. It's very lovely to have this kind of gentle feel to your character and to your world and whatever else you're applying it to. Blue is one of those colors, it's my favorite color. Blue is one of those colors that can mean a lot of things, but generally, if you want your character to feel calm, blue is a great thing to have in your background. Unless you're trying to purposely make it seem the opposite, in which case you could do things kind of like Dolores Umbridge in, sorry, I couldn't remember her name for a second, in the Harry Potter series where she's wearing pink, which is generally considered like, I was just about to talk about pink. Pink is generally a very like sweet, gentle, romantic kind of color. It's very like kindness and wonderfulness, and yet she's this horrible person. You could do a very similar thing with blue, where someone's wearing blue but they actually have a very aggressive attitude. Or maybe they're aggressive at trying to get it under control or something like that. That can be very fun to play with those opposites for sure. That's why Dolores Umbridge wears pinks, is because it's so interesting to have a character that is so opposite of everything that that color represents. Next is indigo. This one is also kind of fun because it can represent tranquility, but is also used to represent things like harmony and mystery because of the fact that it's a blend of two colors that are generally known for being calm and mystical. We're about to talk about purple in a minute. And so as a result of that, it kind of gives it this blend of calm but mysterious. It's kind of in between rather than hitting one note or the other. It hits both at the same time. Then there's violet. Violet generally represents, like I said, mysticism and mystery and faith and sovereignty, sometimes royalty, because of the fact that in history, purple was actually a really hard color to make, and it actually was very expensive. So as a result, is having it symbolize royalty actually makes a lot of sense, just with the way that the world works. It's funny because these colors have come to represent a lot of things. Colors represent so many things nowadays, but when we really look into it, a lot of it is due to our history and due to our experiences with these colors. So I would say highly think about what your experience is with these colors and what you think of them, and that realize that it may influence your book. Next one is black, which is actually really fascinating because in European culture it represents death, mourning, evil, darkness. However, in other cultures it represents elegance and wealth and power, and so as a result of that, it kind of represents both because of this mingling of cultures that we now have in present day. And so it's kind of fascinating how it went from one culture thinking it's this awful thing to another culture thinking it's this beautiful, important thing, and how they blend together. It's become kind of this convoluted mix. It's very fascinating. Next color is gray. This one is known for being very elegant and intellectual and soft. If you want someone to come off very elegant, gray is a great color. If you want them to come off very soft and intellectual, again, great color for this. Or alternatively, if you want them, like I said, to be very aggressive and very crazy, and yet they wear gray, maybe there's a reason for that. Why is there a reason for that? Generally, people pick colors that they relate to because of their attitude towards that color and their experience with that color. So think about your experience with certain colors and what it makes you feel and what it makes you think. Next one is white, which generally represents perfection, honesty, cleanliness, new beginnings, and purity. This one is very fascinating because white is the opposite of black, and so it has a lot of similar things to it in the regard that like cleanliness and a semblance of power from perfection and things like that, and elegance with white as well, but at the same time it's a different type of it. It's a drastically different feel to it. One is stark and startling and almost blinding, and the other is very smooth and gentle and almost blends in with the shadows. And so depending on the feeling you want to give off, that's the color you're going to choose. For example, today, even with my own clothing choices, I know that black and orange tend to represent, like I said, autumn and Halloween and spooky. And so because it's summer, I actually picked white because I wanted to do something more bright and more gentle and more sweet. And so as a result, white kind of gives off that more of that feeling. It's fun to do this with characters, especially with outfits, if you care about outfits in writing at all. The last color is brown. Brown is actually very much known for warmth, security, safety, dependability, and it's always fun with brown because of the fact that a lot of people think it's like a bad color because of the fact that, you know, you have things like dirt. But in general, it's actually known as safety and security and things like that because of the fact that it's such a warm color. Kind of like firewood and kind of like chocolate and things like that. And so it's actually very fascinating to play off of, like I said, these differences of colors. With colors in your writing, I would also say be careful not to use the same word over and over again. The brown curtains, the brown floor, the brown. There are different shades of brown. There are different shades of every color. So use different shades of every color, including white. White actually has several different shades of white. There is whiter white. There is like sterile blinding white. There's ivory, which is a much more like soft white. There are different shades of everything. I would highly recommend looking up like paint colors and things like that and then hitting images and then paint colors in whatever color you're looking for, blue, purple, etc. And then looking at what they say, because it's actually really nice to be able to use that as kind of a color thesaurus to find exactly the right color that you're looking for to describe your setting, to describe your character, and to foreshadow what you're actually meaning to foreshadow. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I also wanted to update you all guys on the writers contest as of now, July 1st, 2024, in case you're watching this video not on that, not in 2024. We will be having a grand prize available at the end of the year. So anytime you enter into a story contest, if you get first place, second place, or third place, you will be eligible to be considered for the grand prize at the end of the year for the best story of 2024. The award ceremony is going to be sometime in January. I'm going to look at my calendar and figure that out, but it's going to be in January, and if you do participate, even if you don't win first, second, or third in any of the contests, for every contest you enter into, you will get one ticket into a raffle for a $15 gift card as the prize. For the grand prize, if you win, basically it's the you get the best story out of all the entries that we've had the entire year. That's going to be a $50 gift card. And then if you will have a runner-up in the teen category and the adult category, because the grand prize will just be whoever we think is the best story, whether they're an adult or a teen, doesn't matter. Both categories will be put into there, and then we'll pick one winner, whether or not it's an adult or a teen. But we'll have a runner-up in both categories, adult and teen, and they will both receive a $25 gift card for their efforts. So please enter, please consider entering into our other contests. The Scary Story contest will also count towards this, towards entering into this. So please take that into consideration. We have the Scary Story contest coming up. We have a first chapter contest coming up, and yes, that will count for best story of the year because of the fact that writing a first chapter is still very hard. And then we'll also have a cozy mystery contest in Christmas, and currently until July 31st, we have the summer contest going on, and the prompt is to write a story that takes place partially or in whole in a library. It can be a fantasy library, it can be a haunted library, it can be a science fiction library, as long as it is a library and that it plays some sort of role in your story. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you will be able to enter into the contest and have a wonderful day.